In other news tonight, Ontario's Auditor General leveled a series of accusations against Premier Doug Ford's government. He says they don't take consultations seriously, don't listen to people, don't have the right strategy to keep hospitals operating, and more. Al Sweeney is following this story and joins us live with the details. That is a long list of accusations, Al.
And there's more, Taz.
Yeah.
The Auditor General issued his annual report on the government, and there's something for just about everyone who has a complaint with the government in this report. For example, anybody who drives a car or goes to a hospital. The Auditor General says Premier Doug Ford heads a government that says it's going to consult with people, but then does what it wants anyway.
So the lack of consultation is something we've seen time and time again.
The Auditor General covered a number of areas in his report. With communities fighting hospital cuts, he says the government does not have a province-wide strategy to prevent emergency department closures. He says there were more than 200 unplanned emergency closures involving 23 hospitals during the year he studied. He says hospitals are struggling with a shortage of nurses and doctors, and they're relying on private agency nurses, which is driving up expenses with no strategy to attract nurses.
Agency nurses are costing at times 2 to 3 times higher than what they would be paid, a nurse would be paid currently working in the government.
He says emergency department waits to see a doctor average 2 hours, 30 minutes more than 10 years ago. The government is playing down the problem.
We're building a system that ensures we have more nurses available.
The Auditor General also focused on driver's license tests. For example, he says drivers who avoided city testing areas and went to suburban or rural driver exam centers had collision rates 16 to 27% higher than those who tested near home. Speaking broadly, the Auditor General says many of the government's decisions lacked meaningful public consultation.
There's a number of areas where we constantly see lack of consultation.
The government says it has been consulting.
The actions speak for themselves, that there have been registry postings on environmental issues that are important to the government and important to the public.
But the Auditor General says the decision to move the Ontario Science Centre to Ontario Place did not take into account the complete cost of the move or input from stakeholders, but did consider the parking needs of a private spa that's going to be built.
The Conservatives have spent a whole year unilaterally ramming through unpopular policies with complete disregard for how their bad planning was impacting regular people.
The Auditor General's report clearly shows that the Ford government doesn't really give a damn about what ordinary Ontarians think about. Doesn't ask them, doesn't listen to them. It fails to consult them on the major issues that people are facing.
And there are a few other points from the Auditor General's report. For areas like tourism in Niagara, the Auditor General says the government does not have an effective long-term strategy to support the tourism industry. With festivals such as Hamilton's Supercrawl struggling for money this year, he says the government did not always approve support for arts and music festivals in a timely way. On travel, the Auditor General says although many people book trips online, the Travel Industry Council of Ontario only protects consumers when they buy at a physical location like a travel agency. The Auditor General also says the government is advertising tourism in Ontario when it should be advertising in the U.S., and says it spent about $25 million last year on ads that he thinks were partisan.